are talking Bushwick, a 2017 action movie starring Dave Bautista and Brittany Snow. The story here is a weird kind of Civil War Part 2 from the United States. It essentially tells a story of various states within in America that decide they've had enough. They kind of want their own independence and essentially strike out and try to have a coup on the other states. Now, the ones in particular in this particular story, it's set in New York, but it's invaded by people from Texas, I think it is. But they were told that there are kind of other states as well that are also kind of doing it. But this focuses on this story. And these two characters, Brittany Snow's character, this young 20-year-old girl who just happens to be on her way to try and see her grandmother, and Bautista's character is a janitor who used to be in the military, so he has a bit of experience, and they kind of team up to kind of traverse this very hostile landscape in New York, basically, and the area is called Bushwick. You know, trying to survive this kind of this military coup, these soldiers, but also not only that, just the kind of the other kind of criminals who may be kind of wanting to take advantage of the chaos and stuff like that. Now, the interesting thing with this movie, and I feel the first thing you'll notice is the movie is kind of set in real time, so it has a seemingly kind of one continuous shot that basically follows up the camera and doesn't really ever seem to kind of cut away. Now, there are cuts, they're just kind of hidden when it's kind of fade to black and stuff. That's a cut. But it's an interesting concept and kind of makes it for somewhat of a unique viewing experience. So yeah, it's kind of just has this kind of like these 2 hours, however long it is, just kind of this one camera kind of seemingly follow these two guys around and obviously sees what happens. So what do we think about Bushwick? I've got to say, it's actually, I was quite impressed with the world that this kind of film has created, and this kind of like this chaos that's kind of going on around there, and it looks pretty decent. I mean, it's a lower budget movie. There are a couple of instances where you can see composite shots and things like that, but overall I did feel the scope of this film was quite good. It kind of forward you into thinking it was actually a lot higher production value than it probably was. And I really like these kind of external shots of this kind of all this kind of chaos happening with New York, and something's going on over here whilst obviously the camera's really focusing on our two main characters. I thought that was quite good. I actually quite liked the relationship between our two leads, so I thought they actually did quite a good job of making, you know, somewhat kind of got quite fun characters to kind of get behind, and kind of these two guys are very different, but you did genuinely kind of believe their relationship, which I thought was pretty good. Bautista's, to his own admission, isn't the greatest of actors here, but he's not required to do too much heavy lifting here. So I think he comes across as pretty good as this kind of like this this vet who has kind of ghosts that will come up for his own past that inevitably come up in somewhat of a schmaltzy scene towards the end. What didn't work for me, the concept itself is a little silly, if we're honest. I mean, it just we have to swallow that this sort of came out of nowhere, and all of this kind of just happened, and no one knew anything about it. And all of a sudden, there's all these kind of like, you know, soldiers here from Texas that have just turned up in New York, and no one noticed. So I thought that was a bit of a silly pill to kind of swallow. And I don't think some of the supporting characters also work quite as well. But it just seems that this has just happened, but people seem super organised and kind of like things. There's certain situations where we'll learn the status quo of certain people and certain groups, and it seems like they've been at this way for ages. But the things that the coups only just happened, so you know, it doesn't really make sense, to be honest, when you kind of think about it. Also, there's some stupid dialogue here. So there's some. I won't go into too much into it, but we kind of learn why there's so much fighting in New York, and it's just a bit stupid. Some of the delivery here and the kind of the actual lines as well are just a little bit too on the nose and a little bit too cheesy. However, I've got to say, if you're an action movie fan, I still think there's enough here to warrant having a look at this movie. The actual concept of this kind of like this continuous take is interesting on its own. I did kind of quite like the down and dirty, gritty feel to it. I like the kind of the central characters, and they seem quite ones you can kind of root behind. If you like films like Red Dawn, you probably like this one. I'll give this movie a 6 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.